Hey, we're live and I didn't run the promo.
Mi gente, you already know who it is. It's Danny Limelight. And I need all of you to subscribe to According to Woods podcast on Facebook, YouTube, and all other platforms.
What's good, party people? This is According to Woods, and I have the honor and privilege of talking to at LFA 107, starting out the night with arguably one of the very first finishes of the night. One Taylor Mauldin. Taylor, what's going on?
Nothing, just happy to be back home for sure.
How long were you out there in what was it? Oklahoma? Was it?
It was South Dakota. I wasn't gone too long. A lot of other people have been having to stay at like the averages like a week before your fight. So I flew in Wednesday, weighed in Thursday, fought Friday, left Saturday. But still, it was just any time away from home is always like, ooh, just get me back to my comfort zone. But I'm glad to be back. Glad to see everybody. On a good note.
No, 100%. And I mean, it. This fight was a first of many, right? This is your first professional. This is your first out of state, and the first on national TV. I mean, via UFC Fight Pass, but I mean the access to millions of people. So, did any of that come into play? Going into it.
Oh, I didn't. None of that was part of my thought process going into the fight. It wasn't something that crossed my mind. I didn't really care about who was watching. I just was focused on getting the result I wanted to get in, get out, be healthy, not take any type of damage and things like that.
No, 100%. Now, obviously, being a fighter in 2020, it was a rough deal trying to get fights and what have you. So when this one finally materialized, the last time we talked, there was something in the works, and we
Yeah,
ended up finding out that this was it. But do you feel a bit of validation coming out of it? Of doing what you said you wanted to do, and bringing it all to fruition.
definitely does feel like an accomplishment in the sense that I finally was able to get out there and do something that I set my heart out to do. Because a lot of people say, "Oh, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that," and then it never comes into play. And I was just kind of thankful that everything ended up working out. I literally was like, I had sponsorship money and I didn't want to touch it just in the event that things did not work out. Like the day before, I was like, okay, I think the fight's gonna like actually happen. So I ended up making that transfer, but I was just like so skeptical because so many fights have been like half like in the works and then just like not in the works. Like it just didn't work out for whatever reason. So thank God.
No, 100%. And it's funny because, I mean, as a sponsored fighter, but sponsorships when you get to pro versus, in the amateurs, amateurs, you might get like, a t shirt here and there. We know
Oh,
those.
I never
Those.
even got a sponsor as an amateur. As a professional, I was like, that really saved the day because without the sponsors or anything, I would have been out. Like, I would not have been able to do any of this.
No, 100%. Now, let's talk about the submission. It was so pretty. It was so nice that ended up becoming like the picture for this little shindig here. But I mean, going into it, it happened so fast. Like I think my one of my kids was playing and whatever, and I was like, "Hey!" And then next thing I know, like they were like, "Oh my gosh, that was amazing!" And I had to kind of rewind it back. But obviously, you're a submission ace. But was that in play? Did you want to go submission? Did you want to finish it on the feet?
It didn't. It mattered to me in the sense that I was kind of did have my heart set on getting a takedown and trying to finish the fight on the ground. But whether it was striking or the jujitsu, I knew I was gonna be fine. So I was okay with the fight ending up anywhere, whether it was striking or on the ground. I felt confident in both. So originally we had came in there with a game plan of just keeping it on our feet because we figured she didn't want to go to the ground, so she was gonna put up a fight. And then I clinched up, and then we had known like she liked the head and arm throw, so I told myself, oh, it's either I'm gonna throw it or she's gonna throw it. So I threw it first, and then it was just the end from there.
Hey, sometimes it's the luck of the draw. Now, obviously, luck is putting it very simply because obviously there's a lot of training to have that chance and what have you. We saw it like Fedor and Matt Mitriot, like the punch, and somebody was just quicker to the draw,
Yeah.
and Mitriot, ended up finishing Fedor, right? But, like how confident, because of all these things, were you in your training? Now, obviously, going into the fight, there's certain things that right? But like having everything kind of work the way that it needed to in that what would normally be a high stress situation. How confident in all of the things that you've been doing up to this point?
So as far as feeling prepared, I knew I was beyond prepared just because I was ready to take anything on a 2 week notice, and we got this fight with a 3 week notice. But I had been training hard for about 3 months prior to that. I was got my weight down, my dieting was on point. So I remember talking to my coach like a couple days prior to, well, no, probably like the day before. He was like, "Look at the only way you're gonna lose this fight is if you fuck up. Like you're not, your skill level, your striking is good, your jiu-jitsu is good, so this girl's not gonna take it from you. And the only way you're gonna lose this is if you mess up like somehow." I was like, you know what, you're right. And then I just kind of went in there, and I was like, I knew I wasn't gonna lose. Like I was like willing to die in there. Like I was just like, I'm not walking out of this cage. That wasn't not an option.
So, and one of the cool things that happened, and I don't know if did you have you watched the fight back?
Yeah, yeah.
So the commentary, they made sure they brought up the relationship of you and your sister.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
how were you feeling about that? Because I know in some instances when you've got siblings that do the same thing, might not be as welcomed, right? But did you feel a sense of pride? You know?
Like I never feel like I don't know. I really value mine and my sister's relationship, and I kind of feel like it just helps. Like if I could have had Lisa there with me, I would have had her in my corner. She would have been with me like 100% of the way. It just because of the whole COVID thing, wasn't sure like if we were even allowed to do that. But any from that point on, she'll probably always be in my corner. But no, I never feel ill. There was like a moment that when they were announcing me, I thought they announced me as Lisa Mauldin. I was like, are you kidding me? Are you freaking kidding me? I'm over there warming up. I was like, no, they did not just do that. But then I asked my coach, I was like, did they announce me as Lisa Mauldin? And then they're like, he was like, no. And I was like, because then I was like, dude, you couldn't just give me the one, one fucking moment of my name right. But it was all in my head.
No, and it might be just kind of like you've heard Lisa's name
Yeah,
be called, by the same announcer. Shout out to Mike, but it could be that, and kind of worst fears kind of come into play. Luckily, that happened there, in the mentality rather than in the fight.
oh yeah, because like you don't know how many times like I've gone places, whether it's at her gym or she comes to my gym. People are like Lisa, Lisa, and I'm just like, dude, Lisa's not even here right now. But it's all good. I even like we mess around with people where it's like, yeah, yeah, we'll just pretend to be one another. It's hilarious.
No, 100%. Now, does that give a little bit of extra oomph that now to the LFA audience, man? You guys are the badass Mauldin sisters, man. Like, it doesn't matter which one it is. Doesn't matter what Mike Kendall, says in front of the name. It's Mauldin. You guys, kind of like the Diaz of a female LFA kind of persuasion. So, does that give you a little bit of extra oomph to kind of get back in there?
Yeah, like for a selling point, it's definitely going to help us because we do function like an actual team and we do rely on one another. I think at this point, like I rely a little bit more on her than she does for me, just because she's kind of like showing me the ropes about being a professional athlete and how to kind of approach everything, even like mindset to like hydration, like after the fight, dieting, if I get a slow day, like if my coaches are out and I need someone somewhere or someone to train with, she's like, "Come on, let's go. We're gonna hit XYZ," and then she's there. So she comes in clutch like all the time. I can always count on her.
I think it's brilliant. And especially, when you're doing this, right? It's weird because if you don't have somebody close to you that has been through it, that's why I think it's weird when opponents they don't like each other even after the fight because there's not going to be anybody that knows what you went through quite like the person on the other side of the cage from you.
Yeah, exactly. I know. A lot of people were talking to me about how she kind of was acting prior to the fight, but yeah. I mean, so that kind of was like I was like a little sour about it. My coach was like, "Don't let this get to you," but I was like, "It's damage is done. Like, you just need to go now." Kind of love it.
Yeah, emotions and opinions can change once the final bell rings.
Right.
Yeah, well. Speaking of things that will change, what has been the response that you've been getting back? I mean, we're a couple days removed, right, from Friday night. So, I mean, have you gotten a pretty positive response from the people around you?
Yeah, of course. I haven't had any negative like any type of negativity. It's always been positive, even leading up to the fight. There's always going to be like some things that kind of stick with you, just little comments, and then that kind of is like your driving force, or it just kind of sticks with you, and it's just the reason why you want to do good. But I've always had like an overwhelming amount of support from my family, which is my teammates, coaches, people that just see us put in the hard work. They're always really supportive, and they acknowledge that.
Yeah, I learned Rogan says don't read the comments, and
Yeah.
that
Oh, I don't. I don't read the comments.
yeah, just emoji and keep on going, like
Yeah.
that's it. Um, Now, in terms of the reaction, have you kind of, is it still early to tell, like, what's next, or do you have any ideas of what comes next? Do you want to get another one before the end of the year?
Oh yeah. I'm definitely gonna get something well within. I'm already back to training hard. We're like going for this. I'm doing a tournament on Monday, not this next Monday, but Memorial Day. Have like four more tournaments. We're not slowing down. We're gonna keep the momentum going. So we'll wait staying down. We're just gonna stay focused for whatever comes my way.
No, I love it. Now, speaking of, staying focused, there have been a lot of people and entities that have helped you, not just in this fight, but in life to get to where you are. This moment last Friday night was the epiphany of literally, it taking a lifetime to become an overnight success. So, obviously, there are a lot of people that help you get here. So, let's get some shout outs out of the way.
Yeah, of course. I'd like to thank Mama Mujer as my sponsor, Inflow, the Gent Marketing, the Dice team, Solani, like a beauty product, and then obviously family. My boyfriend, my kids, and my parents, and especially Lisa.
Yeah, I was like, oh, don't get, you guys heel hook each other. Like, you didn't think me. Gosh.
Yeah,
Boo.
yeah, for sure.
No. And as you accomplish many a thing, Where is the best place for people to find out what you are doing? Not Lisa, but you are doing on social media.
They can find me at Taylor Mauldin underscore 93. And this time I put it as my login.
Yeah, there it is. There it is. No, but a hearty congratulations to you and the team out there in Millennia for this victory. This is a big one for you guys, and something tells me it's a sign of things to come.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys for jumping here with us at According to Woods. And if you haven't already done so, go ahead and like, share, and subscribe to the According to Woods podcast on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. I mean, Taylor, you're subscribed to the podcast, aren't you?
Yes.
Dang right. So be like Taylor. Go ahead and subscribe to the podcast. And if you don't believe me, Taylor, and I don't know why you wouldn't, here's Pro Wrestler Zeta Zhang.
Hey, this is